Have you ever considered or wanted to start your own business? Starting your own business is one of the biggest steps you'll ever take in your life. I know because I've been there several times. Let's talk about it. Are you married? Or have you considered getting married? Are you thinking about getting married in the future? How big a step was that in your life? Do you have children? Have you considered having children? The commitment to the pregnancy of yourself or your wife, the birth of the child, and then the rearing of the child, committing, at least 18 years, sometimes longer, depending on your child's health or if they have any development issues. The death of a loved one, unexpected, usually very devastating and challenging to go through. Starting a business, I would put in the categories with these things. It is of such an impact on your life, and it changes who you are forever. Feelings about starting a business. They're very, very common feelings. Feelings you will have will be joy, elation. Those are times, when you started, it's new, it's fresh, or things are going well, and, you're like, man, this is so awesome. I just love it. I'm so enjoying this. It's my dream come true. But then along with it will come anxiety, fear. I tell you, I've been there. There were times in my rideshare business I had to make major leaps in technology, committing to an app development, committing to leasing an app service that you paid so much per driver per month for to use until our app could be developed. Committing to tracking technology that had to be installed in each vehicle, committing to background checking the drivers and the commitment financially that came with that. These things were big steps, and honestly, with them there's the feelings of anxiety and fear, and then comes sadness and anguish. This one, when my rideshare business had to be closed because it just wasn't making ends meet. It wasn't paying the liabilities that we had with it. It couldn't make a profit to pay all the expenses, let alone pay us as the developers, owners, and operators. And say, well, Uber and Lyft aren't necessarily making a profit. No, they're not yet, but they will be in the future. And the thing is, they have a large enough bankroll to support the drivers, support the technology, support the managers, the operators, the CEO of the business, because they have that bankroll. That's where we come back to the business credit, which we'll follow up on here in the future. This will help you have money to support your business in the meantime. But we didn't have that then. It was coming out of my pocket, week to week, month to month, and had come from my investors, and it was a limited amount. It was running out. Stress, anxiety, it's going to come with it. There's going to be times when, stress and anxiety are going to come because you don't know the road ahead. A new product you developed hasn't taken off the way you hoped. It's not selling as well as you hoped, or there's a problem with a product after you've got it out the door. Or perhaps that advertising campaign didn't hit the way you thought it would click with people, and you've already committed the money on it. We did. We spent, several $1,000s on a PR publicist, and it just didn't work out well for us. Wonderful lady. She did a good job in trying what she did to do, but it just wasn't the right fit and didn't work for us. All these things bring strong feelings or emotions for the positive and for the negative. When we had to close the door, my friend Paul, who was one of my business partners, to him it was very, very devastating. It took months for him to get past that feeling of loss and anguish until we come around to starting this new business here together. It's something that he'll never forget. I won't either. I didn't struggle with it as much because I was there on the front lines. I wrote out the checks. I paid the bills. I saw the bills come in. I knew what the expenses were, and I knew that we weren't making it, that we were struggling. But for him, he was optimistic and hopeful, and he didn't actually work with those numbers every day. And it was hard. It took months to recover. Like I said, similar to the feelings of a loss of a loved one, because the business that you start is most likely that precious to you. And here's the other thing. Great things are never achieved easily or quickly. If you're working to achieve something great, you hear the stories of it was an instant hit and they made millions in a matter of months or years. But for most people, that's not the reality. Most people is the reality. You have to work at it. You have to put time and effort. You have to put your sweat, your grief, your feelings into it. That's the reality. But if you believe in it, if you want to, it's your dream. You can do it, and you will do it. I've done it several times. And like I said, I've had some fail, but I managed to get past it because I chose to pick up and get past it. My friend and I, Paul, were talking about this last night, and I offered for him to come on the video, but he's not quite ready yet. But we will be in the future. I'm sure you'll get to meet him, and we'll have some discussions. But he said, remind them that there's peaks and valleys. In all of life, there's mountains, there's high points, the things that are exciting and thrilling. But on the other side of every mountain, on both sides, is a valley. And after the peak comes a valley. And the valleys can be deep, they can be dark, they can be long. And you'll eventually, if you get through the valley, you'll have another peak and a high point. He said, but remind them, most days are not the thrilling, exciting. He said, most days, it's pretty much like a job. You have to get up each morning, you have to go, and you have to do it without that thrill and excitement because it has to be done. You've committed to doing it. And, you've got to not only support yourself, but if your business goes well, you'll be supporting employees. It's important to more than just you. When you're going to do your job every day, you've got somebody else making those hard decisions generally. You've got someone else being sure the bills are paid. When you're a business owner, that all comes back to you. You're the one that has to see to all this and take care of it. I'm not trying to discourage you. I just want you to know the reality. Another big part is you need a team. You can go out and do something solo, by yourself. But I will tell you, I've seen it time and time with others, time and again, and we've even talked about this with ourselves, that, my businesses that have gone the furthest and been the most successful, I've had a team of 2 to 3 people. Even bringing on others like the publicist, to not full-time, but to add to the strength of the team. Think about a cord or a string. It's one single strand. It's easily broken. But when you look at how a rope is 3 strands or more that are interwoven, braided together, and it's much, much stronger and can bear much more weight and pressure. Well, that's your business. If you bring in the appropriate partners that have good inputs and guidance that mesh with you and their personalities and your skills, your business will be stronger and more likely to thrive and survive. So think about it. Am I going this alone, or am I going to bring in some partners into the business? Partners also can help you, have access to more resources. So, these are things all that you need to consider in your business. How am I going to do this? Each person has a skill and a knowledge. With my rideshare company, I was a businessman. I knew from previous experiences what it took to put together a business, how to structure it, organize it, and I had some tech skills and abilities, so I had the ability to know what we might need on the tech side. And then my buddy Garnett, he came in and he was the driver already. He drove for other rideshare companies, had been doing it for quite a while, close to a year. And he had the experience and the knowledge of what the good things were about it, what the negative things were, the issues that he saw with passengers, riders, the things that a driver needed to know and have for the driver's own safety, for cleaning up the vehicle after accidents happen in it. And I don't mean automobile crashes, but, perhaps a rider that's had a little too much to drink on a Saturday night that just can't hold his liquor well. It happens, and you've got to be able to clean up. So, he had the guidance and the knowledge from actually doing the current business, operating it as a driver. That was a big part of the input. Matter of fact, he came to me with the question, is there a better way of doing this? He was the reason we started the business, because he, was frustrated with many of the downfalls that existed with Uber and Lyft. And I said, you know what? I think we could do this. He meant it as a rhetorical question, but I took it as a foundation to start a business. Think about where your ideas come from for your business. This wasn't even something I planned to talk to you about, but it's super important. Look for opportunities and ideas that your friends may have that your skills can go with them and complement. Now, my buddy Paul had a lot of experience in customer service. He'd worked customer service for Apple, Sykes Company, and on the phones, talking to customers, dealing with them. He knew how the systems needed to be structured. He knew what type of problems you could deal with and how you handle them, that we need to put in place procedures. And he was also a tech guy. So, I could work on planning and running the business while he put together the tech and the back end for us, built out our CRM, put together our web hosting for us that we had to have for our on-board services. Yes, a team made us much stronger. What failed us was the lack of funding, the lack of financing, the lack of business credit. But looking back on this, if I knew all I knew now 2 years ago, I think things would have been very, very different, and we'd have been a stronger company. Now you have to think about, how are you going to structure your company? As I mentioned in the early video a couple days ago, most people start out as a sole proprietor. In America, as default, when you open a business up in your own business name or whatever you choose to do it as, you're considered a sole proprietor. Some people do a partnership, where 2 or 3 people get together and partner. With these, the people are the business. The liabilities of the business falls back on the people who started it, who run it. The liability of the people can come around and affect the business. The other difficulty and drawback is, it's all operating off your own personal credit or finances that you have. The company does not get taxed. You get taxed based on the disbursement of the money you give yourself. You get taxed based on how you disperse the expenses of the company, because you are the company. And it's very different. So what we need to look at is to give yourself protection, give your company protection. Both ways is you need to look at different corporate structures. You may want to consider a corporation. A corporation consists of multiple founders and can issue stocks. The corporation's owned by the stockholders. And it also can have an EIN, employer identification number, and develop its own credit separate from the founders. Then the other option is an S corporation. It's a special variant of a corporation, but it allows the income to be passed through the corporation to the owners, and they're taxed personally rather than taxed to someone that is getting paid a salary and the corporation taxed separately. A whole lot of different details in this, and there's also the limited liability company, and that company then is owned by the members of the LLC. And it offers you, a chance. A corporation can issue stocks. A LLC can bring in money through the members that provide funds and financing for the original startup. And there's quite a bit of difference. Now, as you go through this, you need to start researching and looking into it. You need to search online. Use Google. It's one of the best things out there. Everybody's got it on all their devices to search for answers. And as you begin to look at what your possibilities are and how you'd like to be structured, you discuss it with each other, I would consider then, talking to an attorney. The consultation for the first time is usually free, and they'll give you a lot of good input. I would also talk to an accountant or a CPA and let them know what you're considering doing and how you're considering the structure, so they can give you ideas on the tax implications. I'll go into that more in the next video. This video took a bit of a different direction, but I think it's really important to think about, if you're wanting to start a business, what does it mean to you? How does it affect you emotionally, spiritually, physically? How does it affect your family relationships? Are you and your loved ones ready for you to do this? So I'll meet you next time. We'll go back more into the breakdown of the structures. We'll also talk about the benefits between a corporation and LLC with developing your stock and bringing revenue and funds in. Have a great day. Remember, like, subscribe, and if you have a comment or question, please add it. I'll go through, I'll read them, and I'll answer each and every one of them. May even make a video on your subject if it's something I feel we really need to go over. Good talk to you all. I'm Dennis Curley with Signet Business Credit. My website is Signet, S-I-G-N-E-T, BC.com, and I have ebooks available you could purchase to go through and learn and study and give you a lot more information quicker than waiting on the video series. Have a great day.